All right, happy Sabbath, everybody. Volume check. All right, we good. All right, so I'd like to give all praise to the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the creator of heaven and earth, Father of all spirits, and like to send a greeting and a shout out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Peace and greetings. Let's open up today's class with the reading of the law. It's going to be Leviticus chapter 21. We're going to start at 1.
Leviticus chapter 21, starting in verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, There shall none be defiled for the dead among his people, but for his kin that is near unto him, that is, for his mother, and for his father, and for his son, and for his daughter, and for his brother.
So what is saying about being defiled for your next of kin? That is going into shaving your heads, shaving your head, shaving your beard. You can do that as of mourning period. Go ahead.
And for his sister, a virgin that is nigh unto him, which hath had no husband, for her may he be defiled.
Go ahead.
But he shall not defile himself, being a chief man among his people, to profane himself.
Go ahead.
They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cutting in their flesh.
So that's going into getting that Michael Jordan, shaving off your beard, and tattoos. Go ahead.
They shall be holy unto their God, and not profane the name of their God, for the offerings of the Lord made by fire, and the beard and the bread of their God they do offer. Therefore they shall be holy. They shall not take a wife that is a whore, or profane, neither shall they take a woman put away from her husband, for he is holy unto his God.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt sanctify him, therefore, for he offereth the bread of thy God. He shall be holy unto thee. For I, the Lord, which sanctify you, am holy.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father. She shall be burnt with fire.
So if a priest's daughter was a whore, she had to be killed. Go ahead.
And he that is the high priest among his brethren, upon whose head the anointing oil was poured, and that is consecrated to put on the garments, shall not uncover his head, nor rend his clothes.
Right.
Neither shall he go in to any dead body, nor defile himself for his father or for his mother. Neither shall he go out of the sanctuary, nor profane the sanctuary of his God.
So the high priest couldn't defile himself for nobody. He couldn't shave his head. He couldn't shave his beard for if he have a death in the family. Go ahead.
For the crown of the anointing oil of his God is upon him. I am the Lord. And he shall take a wife in her virginity, a widow or a divorced woman, or profane, or a harlot. These shall he not take, but he shall take a virgin of his own people to wife. Neither shall he profane his seed among his people, for I, the Lord, do sanctify him.
All right, that's it on that. So this is the law of the priest, right there. Let's get Revelation 14 and verse 12.
The book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
And the faith of Christ. Get Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
So all praise to the Most High for the reading of the law. So let's jump into class. So today's class is called Bible History, Hanukkah, the story of Judas, Maccabees. So we'll go over Hanukkah today. I think we got less than 2 weeks for the feast is here. So we want to understand it on the feast while we celebrate. And what are from it? Let's open up with Romans 15 and 4. The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So the things that were written aforetime was written for our learning. We're supposed to read these stories and learn from them. Learn from them. Why? Go ahead.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scripture, might have hope.
Might have hope in what? In future salvation. All these feast days points to future salvation. That's why I don't understand when people say he nailed the feast days to the cross. It don't make sense. They all point to Christ. They all have a spiritual meaning, and they give us hope for future salvation. Get Ecclesiastes 1 and 9.
Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
There's no new thing under the sun. All history repeats itself. History repeats itself because man is the same back then, it's the same today. The wicked imaginations of men are the same back then, and they are the same today. So there's no new thing under the sun. Now, so let's open up with the story. So now, let's get Daniel chapter 8. What's the importance of Daniel chapter 8? The history that we are about to read about, Daniel actually prophesied about it. So let's get Daniel prophesying about what was going to happen in this time period. So let's get Daniel chapter 8. We're going to start at 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first.
So Daniel said a vision came to him, right?
And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I saw a Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Elah. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
So note that he said he saw a ram, and the ram had 2 horns, and one horn was higher than the other. So note that. Go ahead.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great.
So it said the ram was pushing westward and northward and southward, and it became great. The ram was basically ruling. Go ahead.
And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
So he said, now there's First there was a ram, now there's a goat. Go ahead.
and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had two horns,
So the goat came to the ram. Go ahead.
which I had seen standing before the river, and he and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
So the goat ran over the ram. Go ahead.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram,
He killed the goats, killed the ram. Go ahead.
and brake his two horns.
Broke off his horns. Go ahead.
And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
So there was none that can save the ram from the goat. Verse, where we at? 8.
Therefore, the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four noble ones toward the four winds of heaven.
Go ahead.
And out of the one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host, and of the stars of the ground, and stamped upon them.
So he said this goat cast out the host of heaven and the stars. Now jump to verse 15.
Verse 15. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Elah, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
So the angel Gabriel came to Daniel to give him the understanding of the vision. Go ahead.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said upon me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision.
Go ahead.
Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be.
Go ahead.
The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
So the rams represented having the two horns. The rams represented the kings of Media and Persia. The two horns was Media and Persia. Go ahead.
And the rough goat is the king of Gracia.
And the rough goat was the king of Greece. So go ahead.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
And the horn that's between his eyes is the first king of Greece. So what Daniel was seeing was in the next kingdom that was coming into rulership was the Greeks. They was going to take the kingdom from the Persia and the Medes. He's seeing this in a vision. Now, this is going into how valid the Apocrypha is. Because when you go from the Old Testament to the New Testament, what? The Romans are in power. Where is the Greek? This is Daniel having a prophecy, right? Of the Greeks coming into power. Where is that history? Because when you come into the New Testament with Christ, the Romans are in power. And you don't see the Greeks from Matthew to Revelation. But we see Daniel prophesying about that. Read that again, verse 21.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 21. And the rough goat is the king of Gracia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
So do anybody know? This is real life history. Do anybody know that history? Who was the first king of Greece? Do anybody know that? The public schools be failing us. No, I was- Do anybody know that? The N. No, you thinking of Nebuchadnezzar. That's Babylon. The first king of Greece. Yeah, she hit it. What was you gonna say? What to say? Otto? Yeah, I don't know. But let's read this history. Go to First Maccabees chapter 1. Open up a Google tab and pull up Alexander the Great. Get First Maccabees 1 and verse 1.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim.
So Alexander the Great is the goat in Daniel's vision. Go ahead.
Had smitten Darius, king of the Persians.
So the ram was Darius, king of the Persian. Go ahead.
And Medes.
And the Medes. That was the king of the Persian and Medes. Go ahead.
That he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
He was the what?
The first over Greece.
So he's the first over Greece. So we seeing that prophecy come true in the Apocrypha. That's why people is lost. They just have the New Testament and the Old Testament to the New Testament, and they don't be understanding these prophecies in the Old Testament because they're not tying them with the Apocrypha. That's why when we get the Bible, we get the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament. It's all one book until they took it out. Mm-hmm. You got that, Alexander the Great? Share that out. Go to where you at? Images. Scroll down. Go to Wikipedia. Click that. All right, start there. But make sure that's showing out. Is it showing out? Yeah, that's showing out. All right, Alexander the Third of I can't even Macedon. Back it down.
Alexander the Third of Macedon, ancient Greek, commonly known as Alexander the Great, was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He succeeded his father Philip II to the throne in 336 BC at the age of 20, and spent most of his ruling years conducting a lengthy military campaign throughout Western Asia and Egypt. By the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to northwestern India. He was undefeated in battle and is widely considered to be one of history's greatest and most successful military commanders.
You see that? He said he was one of the best military, and he was undefeated in battle. Go back to Daniel chapter 8. Go back to Daniel chapter 8. Let's read Daniel prophecy. I don't think we read this part. Daniel chapter 8. And read verse 24.
Daniel chapter 8.
Yeah, read 21, then jump to 24.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 21. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Remember, it said he was the first over Greece. Now jump to 24.
Verse 24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully.
Remember, it said he was undefeated in battle. It said he shall destroy wonderful. Go ahead.
And shall prosper, and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
That's the difference. He said he gonna destroy the mighty and the holy people, meaning Israel. Go ahead, 25.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
So you see that? So now we see that he was Daniel was prophesying about Alexander the Great. And this is just real history, real history. So now go back to First Maccabees and read verse 1 again, 1 and 1.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shedem, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over
He
Greece,
was the first over Greece. This is when the Greeks came into power. Go ahead.
and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth,
That's what we read in the Wikipedia. Go ahead.
and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
That's what we read in Daniel, verse 4.
And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
So they became tributaries unto him. John, verse 7.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
He reigned 12 years, then he died. Go ahead.
And his servants bear rule, every one in his place.
So his servants, they started taking up his kingdoms. Go ahead.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied.
So when the Greeks came into power, that's when it say evils was multiplied in the earth. Damn Edomites. They took rulership and it started going crazy. Verse 10.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Ephanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome.
So now, after Alexander the Great, after he took over the earth and evils multiplied, the people that came after him, one of them was Antiochus. Antiochus. So now we'll talk about Antiochus. Said, read that verse 10.
And there came out of them a wicked Antiochus, surnamed Ephanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome.
Go ahead.
And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So that's when he reigned. That's when in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Go ahead.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
So now this is where the Israelites go wrong. You in the covenant with God, how you gonna make a covenant with the heathen? He said, let us go make a covenant with the heathen, meaning this goes against the covenant that you got with God. That's why I say wicked men of Israel said this. Go ahead.
That are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
It says, since we left the heathens alone, we didn't have much sorrow. That's how wicked Israelites think. They want to be worldly, going with what the people of the land are doing. Today, it will look like the ones that do Thanksgiving, 4th of July. They in a covenant with the heathen because those are heathen days. So they're in the that's what it's looking like now. I mean, back then, they wanted to do the same thing, and that's what we gonna show. Go to. We ain't gonna talk about that. Go to First Maccabees 1, go to verse 20.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 20.
So we got it started off Alexander the Great. Now we in the time of Antiochus. He's ruling. Verse 20.
And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
So he had just when he took over Egypt. Now he's like, okay, we finna get Israel. It's time for us to get Israel. Go ahead.
and entered proudly into the sanctuary.
And he went into the temple. Go ahead.
And took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers, and the gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornament that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
He went and put all this stuff out our temple. Go ahead.
He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasure which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoke very proudly.
Go ahead.
Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were.
Because he was massacred. He did a great massacre. Go ahead.
So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Because they mostly, when they go out and kill, they kill the men. Either women that are virgins kill the men. Go ahead.
The land also moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
Let's get a precept. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 5. Hold this spot because we coming back. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 5 and read verse 11. Let's get a more visual of what he did to the temple.
2 Maccabees chapter 5 and verse 11. Now when this that was done came to the king's car, he thought that Judea had revolted, whereupon removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, he took the city by force of arms.
Go ahead.
And commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met, and to slay such as went up upon the houses.
Remember, it said a great massacre in the last precept. Go ahead.
Thus there was killing of young and old.
So he's killing everybody, young and old. Go ahead.
Making away of men, women, and children, slaying of virgins and infants.
He's killing all of them. I thought he was keeping the virgins. He killing the virgins. Verse 14.
And there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 80,000.
So yeah, that's 8,000. Go ahead.
Whereof 40,000 were slain in the conflict, and no fewer sold than slain.
Go ahead.
Yet was he not content with this, but presumed to go into the most holy temple of all the world, Melanas, the traitor to the laws and to his own country, being his guide.
So remember, it said evil men of Israel. Menelaus was one of them. He the one that helped them. Go ahead.
And taking the holy vessels with polluted hands, and with profane hands pulling down the things that were dedicated by kings to the augmentation and glory and honor of the place.
When it said, because the temple was dedicated by other kings, who you talking about? Solomon, Josiah, those kings that had made had got out of idolatry and dedicated the temple properly. He said he went in and put all that stuff down. Go ahead.
He gave them away, and so haughty was Antiochus in mind, that he considered not that the Lord was angry for a while for the sins of them that dwelt in the city, and therefore his eye was not upon the place.
Go ahead.
For had they not been formerly wrapped in many sins, this man, as soon as he had come, had forthwith been scourged.
He said if our people wasn't in sin, God would have dealt with him. He wouldn't been able to come into the temple. That's the thing. That's the thing. When we in sin, God do not deal with us. Go ahead.
And put back from his presumption, as Heldorius was, whom Seleucus the king sent to view the treasury.
All right. Now let's go to First Maccabees. Go back to First Maccabees chapter 1. So now remember, he said he went in and pulled all that stuff out the temple, all the holy stuff out the temple. What did he do to it after he pulled it all out? Jump to verse 41.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
So he said, King Antiochus, he wanted everybody to be one people. This is the what they call the New World Order. One people, one religion in the whole world. That's the New World Order, what they call it today.
The one nation under God.
Yeah. That's how they try to do. Verse 42.
Verse 42. And everyone should leave his law. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
So the heathens, they was all good for that. Leave a law, meaning leave a pagan gods, leave whatever gods they got, and we go follow the gods of Antiochus. Go ahead.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
Even some of it say many of the Israelites consented to this. To what? His religion. Go ahead.
And sacrificed unto idols.
And sacrificed unto idols. Go ahead.
And profaned the Sabbath.
And profaned the Sabbath. This is even Israelites was, they said that's go ahead.
For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
The strange laws means the pagan laws. The pagan laws. It was a brother, he said something about the brother CJ said something about it's a law. He was trying to say it's a law, but it went against God, but we need to do it. Something. If America make a law that goes against God, we are not to do it. No matter what, we don't give a damn. If you get locked up, nothing, just like, no, I'm not doing that. That's what the brother was saying. I can't remember what law he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. We was legal, so we can do it now because they legalized it. That's what he said. Yeah, good memory, man. Yeah. Just because they legalize something, if it goes against God, we are not to follow it. No, that's not an excuse to sin. Read that again, 44.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Go ahead.
And forbid burnt offerings.
So they stopped doing the burnt offerings. Go ahead.
And sacrifices.
And the sacrifices. They was doing it to idols. Go ahead.
And drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Go ahead. And what else they do?
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
So they
Bluetooth mode. Line in mode.
all right, we back. We at 46.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 46. And
All right, y'all, we back. Little technical difficulties. All praise to the Most High. We able to get back though. Where was we at? We was in First Maccabees chapter 1, and we go hit 46. So just a quick recap. We're talking about how Antiochus tried to make one religion for everybody, the heathens, Israel, for everybody. So now let's read verse 46 again.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh.
So they sacrificing swine's flesh in the temple. Now they sacrificing swine's flesh in the temple. Go ahead.
And unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
And they weren't even circumcised in the anymore. Go ahead.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law.
So he had a purpose to do this. He wanted Israel to forget the law. That was the purpose. That's the purpose of Thanksgiving. That's the purpose of 4th of July. That's the purpose of all these strange laws. That's the purpose of Christianity. It's so Israel can forget the law. Go ahead.
And change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
He put to death whoever didn't follow the pagan laws. Go ahead.
In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evil in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee to for succor.
Hey, here, go cut the heat on. Everybody in here freeze. I'm over here cool. I'm cool. Everybody cool. I'm looking around. My bad. I thought y'all was at my temperature. Yeah, that's cool. I'll pass to the most. My bad. There's a lot going on today, man. There's a lot going on today. My bad. Read verse 52 again.
Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
They committed all these evils in the land. Go ahead.
And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
So the Israelites that wanted to keep the commandments, they had to go like underground. They had to keep the commandments secretly. Go ahead.
Now the 15th day of the month of Keslu.
So at this time, it's the 15th day of the 9th month. When was New Moon? The 13th. That was the Monday. Yeah. What's today? Okay. So it was almost close to. We about in the 15th day. So it's saying the 15th day of the 9th month. That's Sheslev. Go ahead.
In the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
So not only did they put this in the temple, they started building altars all in Judea, all in Judah, idol altars. Go ahead.
And burn incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in places, and when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found,
they found the Bible. They did what?
They burnt them with fire.
They burnt all the Bibles. Go ahead.
And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandments was that they should be put to death.
So whoever was caught keeping the commandments of God, or even having the Torah, even having the book of the law, Antiochus had them put to death. Go ahead.
Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities.
Go ahead.
Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God.
So I want y'all to note that it said in the 25th day of the 9th month is when they went in and sacrificed upon the idol altar in the temple. Note, take that note, the 25th day of the 9th month. Let's get a precept. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6. And get another precept for what he did. 2 Maccabees 6, we go start at 1.
Book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the law of their fathers, and not to live after the law of God.
And not to live after the laws of God. Go ahead.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem.
And he taught them into polluting the temple in Jerusalem. Go ahead.
And to call it the temple of Jupiter
Olympius. That's where the Olympics come from. It's to this god Jupiter Olympius. It's that false god. Who is Jupiter Olympius? Go ahead.
Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers.
So Jupiter of Olympius is who they say he's the defender of heathens, the defender of strangers. Meaning what? He's the one that defends the heathens from God. Jupiter Olympius. That's why that's the Olympics. The actual exercise that they do at the Olympics is not pagan, but the actual event is pagan because they're doing that to the Jupiter Olympia. Go ahead.
As they did desire that dwelt in that place the place.
Go ahead.
The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
Why?
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots.
So they was having orgies in the temple, all type of stuff. Go ahead.
And had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that brought in things that were not lawful.
They was bringing in the swines, the pig, and sacrificing all type of unclean animals on the temple, on the altar. Go ahead.
The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbidded. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath.
So it was against the law for you to keep the Sabbath. It was what's it called when you break a law? It was a manslaughter. Violation.
Violation. There you go.
There was a violation against their laws. If you got caught keeping the Sabbath, you can get locked up or put to death. That's crazy. Go ahead.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
You couldn't even keep the feast days. Go ahead.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
You couldn't even call yourself a Jew. You couldn't even call yourself to say I'm an Israelite. It was a law to say I'm an Israelite. Go ahead.
And in the
that's all. So now go to 1 Maccabees 2. So now all this stuff, Antiochus got the temple going crazy. You can't even keep the laws of God. He got the world going crazy. So guess what? Somebody had to stand up. Let's see who stood up. Go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2. We're going to start at 1.
1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin, and he had 5 sons.
So Mattathias had 5 sons. Go ahead.
Johanan, called Caius, Simon, called Thesai, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar, called Abiran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Ephas.
So those are his 5 sons. He got those 5 sons. Let's go to verse 6.
Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem,
Talk about Mattathias. Go ahead.
he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people?
He was mad because he's looking at the condition of his people. That's how we are when we look at our people. When you have that understanding, that's how you are. When you look at your people, it makes you hold this spot. Give me that Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 12. This is what happened to Mattathias. You got it.
Yeah, I'm 7 and 7.
Okay, yeah, let's get that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
That's what happened to Mattathias. He says, surely oppression make a wise man mad. He got mad to see his people, the condition of his people. Go back to 1 Maccabees 2, verse 7 again.
1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 7. He said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered unto the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers.
He said the sanctuary, the strangers then took over the temple. Go ahead.
Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets.
All right, jump to verse 12.
Verse 12. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore.
Because his sons was just like him. He didn't raise his son. Remember, say your sons is when you die, you leave your son, you leave one that's just like yourself. So his sons was just like him. They looking at the oppression of our people. They looking at the temple. They looking at all this, and they hot. They pissed. They rent their clothes. Let's go to verse 41.
Verse 41. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, Whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day.
So now Mattathias, he putting together a team to fight. He like, hey, you know what? We about to fight. Whoever go join us, let us know. Go ahead.
We will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
Go ahead. He said, we ain't gonna die like they killed them in the secret places. Go ahead.
Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law.
Go ahead.
Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them.
So he getting a team together to go fight. Go ahead.
So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath.
They going killing them, killing these heathens. Go ahead.
But the rest fled to the heathen for succor. Then Mattathias and his friends went around about and pulled down the altars.
They pulled down the altars. Remember, it said they made those idol altars all around Judea. They was going around pulling them down. Go ahead.
And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised,
whatever child they found that was uncircumcised, what they do?
those they circumcised.
They circumcised them. Because remember, it was against the law to circumcise them. Go ahead.
Valiantly. They persuaded also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hands.
So they was prospering. Go ahead.
So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles.
So they didn't burn all of them. They recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles. Go ahead.
And out of the hand of the kings, neither suffered they the sinner to triumph.
So now they like, we finna take our stuff back. He put together a team. Remember, he got his 5 sons with him too. And they going around, they said, we about to take our stuff back. They got us toe up. So now, jump to 49.
Verse 49. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die.
So now he about to die, Mattathias. Go ahead.
He said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation.
So this is what he telling his sons. Go ahead.
Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
Verse 51.
Verse 51. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall you receive great honor and an everlasting name.
You see that? Remember we read in Romans 15:4, whatsoever things were written aforetime was written for our learning. This is what Mattathias is telling his son. Remember what our forefathers done. And when you read further down, he starts talking about Abraham, David, Azariah, Daniel. He started talking about them. He like, remember our fathers and how they were diligent and strong. Now jump to 64.
Verse 64. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law.
It says, show yourselves men in the behalf of the law. That's what we do when we go out and teach. When y'all go out, when y'all talking to somebody, you showing yourselves men, we showing ourselves men and women on behalf of God's laws. Because that's what we doing. That's the part everybody go reject. The thing that people reject is God's laws, and then some wicked ones, if they just will wicked, they reject Christ. A lot of people reject the Bible, but that's just them blaming the Bible on stuff that they shouldn't even blame the Bible. Even Esau. Esau said, yeah, well, Christians, they do Christmas, and he said we should listen to the Bible because Christians do Christmas and Thanksgiving and all these things, and that's why we shouldn't follow the Bible. I said, well, do we blame that on the Bible or do you blame that on the Christians that's doing it? Because the Bible don't tell you to do none of those things. So a lot of people have misplaced anger on the Bible for things that's not even there. One little dude said, I don't believe the Bible because they say Jesus is white. I said, have you ever read that in the Bible? He said, nah. I said, because it's not in there. You got people have misplaced anger of, they just don't read it. They just look at what Christianity is doing, don't believe it, and blame the Bible instead of blaming Christianity. So he says, stand up on behalf of the law. Go ahead.
Or for my son, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory.
Go ahead. And
behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel.
So now he's finna give the characteristics of his sons. Go ahead. So Simon he said, listen to your brother Simon. He's a man of counsel. Go ahead.
Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you.
So Simon, he gonna be the one to counsel all of y'all. Go ahead.
As for Judah Maccabees.
As for Judah Maccabees, go ahead.
He had been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain. and fight the battle of the people.
So he said, Judah Maccabees, he's a captain. He in charge of y'all. Listen to him. Go ahead.
Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandment of the law. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modin. And all Israel made great lamentation for him,
because he was a well-respected man. So now his son, so Mattathiah is dead, and now his son is in charge. Who did he leave in charge? Judah Maccabees. So now let's see what happened with Judah Maccabees. Chapter 3, verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 1. And his son Judas, called Maccabees, rose up in his stead.
So he rose up and he took Mattathiah's place. Go ahead.
And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
So they fighting the battles of Israel. Go ahead.
So he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey.
So he out there turn people up, winning battles. Go ahead. Now jump to verse 10. So now we're gonna look at who he started to beat. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together, and a great host of Samaria, to fight against Israel.
Go ahead.
Which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled.
Go ahead.
Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius' sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long.
So now he took down Apollonius. That was the first person he took down. Up to 13.
Verse 13. Now when Saran, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will give me a name and honor in the kingdom.
So now Saran, he like, I'm gonna take Judah Maccabees down and build my name. He like, this dude out here, he's great. He's a great Israel warrior. If I take him down, I become famous. Go ahead.
For I will go fight with Judas, and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And when he came near to the going up of
my bad, jump to 21.
Verse 21. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our faces. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them.
So this is Judah Maccabees talking to his soldiers. Go ahead.
Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them. And so Saran and his host was overthrown before him.
So as soon as he gave that speech, they defeated Saran in battle. So now Judah Maccabees is going around, turning the heathen up, pulling down the idols, turn the heathen up. So just to speed it up a little bit, the heathens started building an army to fight against them. They started building this big army to fight against him. So Judah Maccabees, he know that they coming. So he had to encourage the Jews, because the Jews get scared. They like, Dad, they got this big army coming. We need to, I don't know if we're going to win this. So Judah Maccabees had to encourage them. Jump to verse 42.
First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 42. 42, right?
Yeah.
Now when Judas and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, they said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate of our people, and let us fight for our people and the
So he
sanctuary.
said, let us fight for the people and the sanctuary. Go ahead.
Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold, and the heathen had their habitation in that place. And joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased.
All right, jump to verse 52.
Verse 52,
51.
51. For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and bought low.
So they are praying to God at this time. Go ahead.
And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What thing they imagine against us, you knowest, thou knowest. How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O God, be our help?
Go ahead.
Then sounded they with trumpets and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return every man to his own house according to the law.
Go ahead.
So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, arm yourselves, be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations that are assembled together.
So he said, be ready in the morning because we about to fight with all these heathens that had joined together to destroy Israel. They about to go to war with it wasn't a lot of them, but it was a gang of heathens. They built this big army just for Judah Maccabees. So now let's skip down, go to chapter 4, and let's skip down to 36.
Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36.
So what was going on was when they went to war, they was defeating part of their army. They was defeating because they was coming in droves. They was coming like at 5,000 at them because the heathens got proud. They like, send 5,000. That should be enough. Judah Maccabees will kill them. They'll say, send 10,000. That'll be enough. Judah Maccabees will kill them. So now it's just this big war going on. So now when you read chapter 4, y'all go back and read it. We're going to skip down for time. So jump to verse 36.
First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So he like, our enemies, they don't know what to do. First we slayed 5,000, then we slayed 10,000. Now that the enemies, they getting scared. Jump up to verse 35.
Verse 35. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight.
Lysias was the captain that was sending the people. When he seen his men getting killed, go ahead.
And the manliness of Judah's soldiers.
Said they was men. But he said, Damon, I am a boy. He said, these are men out here. He said, when I seen the manliness of his soldiers, go ahead.
And how they were ready either to live or die valiantly.
He said how they were ready either to live or die. That's a scary person. You know that what movie was that when I think that was that little racist movie where dude they was about to fight and dude started punching himself. He started punching himself, and the person he's about to fight was looking like, Nigga, I ain't finna, this nigga crazy. That's how they looking at Judah Maccabees soldiers. Like, they don't care if they live or die. Like, what we gonna do with what you gonna do with somebody that don't care if they live? That's like the I'm gonna leave them alone. I ain't even gonna mess with it. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. In the name of Allah. Be blowing themselves up, them little bombs.
Kamikazes.
That's what they call?
Yeah, kamikazes.
The people that
Israel.
yeah.
Ishmael. That's
Ishmael. In the name of Allah. Imagine that, man. I know I'm going off topic. Imagine sitting on the bus. You just on the bus. And a dude with a towel on his head stand up and say, in the name of Allah.
You'll get off the bus.
It'll blow everybody. You on the bus. What you gonna do to them? You can't hurt them people. They willing to blow themselves up for their cause. That's how Judah Maccabee, that's how they soldiers look like. They like, man, these are men out here. In the name of, you sit on the bus, dude stand up. In the name of, you better jump the window, because something about to go down. My man, it's about to go down. Yeah, they killing themselves, blowing up them damn cells. What you gonna do to them? You can't go to war with them. Topic. Where we at?
Verse 35.
Yeah, 35. Again.
Now, when Lysias saw his army put to flight and the manliness of Judah's soldiers,
He looking at them like, dang, go ahead.
and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went to Antiochus and gathered together a company of strangers.
He had to go get some more people. Go ahead.
And having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judah.
So he like, we need some more people because these Negroes ain't playing with us. Go ahead, 36.
Behold, our enemies are fitted. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So when he left to get more people, Judah Maccabees like, hey, let's go into our temple and cleanse it. He call it dedicate the sanctuary. So let's look up that word dedicate. Pull up let's get that real quick. Got a Blue Letter Bible. My bad, I didn't have the scripture ready. Go to Numbers chapter 7. Go to verse 84. All right, let me see, where is it at? Dedication.
Strong's H 2598. HANUKKAH. HANUKKAH.
Hanukkah. So the word dedication in the Hebrew means Hanukkah. That's where they get the name of Hanukkah from. It means dedication. Scroll down. Let's read the definition. Oh, that was it. Out loud read right there.
Dedication, consecration.
Consecration means a cleansing. A cleansing. Go ahead. Scroll down. Go up. Strong's definition. Yeah.
Strong's definition. Hanukkah. From H2596. Initiation, i.e., consecration, dedicating. Dedication. Yeah.
So it's the Feast of Hanukkah, Feast of Dedication. So when it say Feast of Dedication, that's why it's also known as Hanukkah. That's where the word Hanukkah come from. You can stop sharing that. So now read verse 36 again. So now we starting to see why it's called Hanukkah. It's the dedication of the temple. 36 again.
4 and verse 36.
Hold on. Turn that down, son. Maybe that's why I keep going out. Turn the mic volume down. Yeah. Did it go up? Mic check. Oh, it's still on. That's cool. Before that thing's sensitive today. All right, read that again.
Verse 6. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So he said, let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. So this is now we're starting to see why is it called the Feast of Dedication? Because now this is when we get our temple back from King Antiochus and the heathens. Go ahead.
Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down.
So that now they remember they ain't in there. They ain't seen what the heathens did to the temple. So now they looking at, they seeing what they did to it.
They rent their clothes and made great lamentation.
Lamentation means crying. They crying after they seen this is the temple of our God that they seen and what they did to it. Go ahead.
And cast ashes upon their heads and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven.
Go ahead.
Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So they at war fighting and at the same time cleaning, dedicating the altar. He got people out there fighting and he got people cleaning, getting all this idolatry and stuff off the altar. Go ahead.
Priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which were profane, they thought it best to pull it down.
They like, we about to pull this down. Go ahead.
Lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled.
So they knew we couldn't half-ass it. It ain't just we finna get some Windex and clean it on off. No, they like, we need to pull all this down and redo it. Go ahead.
Wherefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them.
Go ahead.
Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former.
Because Moses taught them how to build an altar. So they had to have the book of the law to see how we supposed to build the altar. Go ahead.
And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple and hallowed the courts.
Go ahead.
They made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offering and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple.
So they the 7 candlesticks, what they said, yeah, like the 7 candlesticks right there. They lit it. That's how they had light in there. Let's see what happened. Go ahead.
Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the vials and finished all the works which they have begun to make.
And they finished rededicating the altar. Go ahead.
Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu.
So you remember I told y'all to note that date, the 25th day of the 9th month. Remember, that's the same day that they altered the swine's flesh and stuff on it. Go ahead.
In the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
So after they got done, that same day that they did the idol offers, it was the same day when they redid well, not the same day, but they redid the temple, and then that same 25th day they offered the right way. Go ahead.
Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it.
So they said. So now you're saying, look at the time and day that heathen did it. Remember, it was the 25th day of the 9th month. It was a perfect year later. Go ahead.
Even in that was it dedicated with songs. And
hold on, let me make sure there was a year. How long it was? Yeah, it was a year because it was the 137th year. This right here is the 100. Let me make sure that's right. Let's make sure that's right. First Maccabees 1. It was the 140. Go First Maccabees 1:54. So let's look at the time frame that it took Judah Maccabees to get the temple back. First Maccabees 1:54.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar.
So it was the 25th day of the 9th month in the 145th year. Now go back to chapter 4 and read verse, where was we at?
54, 53.
53.
First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse
read 52.
Verse 52. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year.
So it was 3 years later when they finally got the temple back. It was 3 years later on to the day, the 25th day of the 9th month. Go ahead.
They rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
So he said they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days. That's why Feast of Dedication on Hanukkah is 8 days. They were so happy to get the temple back. They sacrificed on the temple 8 straight days. That's how happy they was. Go ahead.
They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
It's put away. We got our temple back. Go ahead.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year.
So he said that this is what we need to keep year to year. The days of dedication of the altar, year to year. Go ahead.
by the space of 8 days.
By the space of 8 days, go ahead.
From the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
So it started on the 25th day of the 9th month, and it go 8 straight days. So this is what we will be celebrating, is getting Judah Maccabees fighting, getting our temple back from the heathens, and being able to dedicate the altar while they was fighting. While the war was going on, they couldn't have did that without the power of God. Because we was outnumbered. It was all the heathens versus Israel. All the heathens versus Israel. We was outnumbered. He said that's a day of gladness. That feast day is supposed to give us hope for future salvation. That's why we keep these days. Let's get a precept. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 10 and verse 1.
It's the book of 10 and verse 1. Now Maccabees and his company, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city. But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street.
Hey, Jamil, you were. I don't know where this boy left his post. Unmanned. Didn't even get a sub. My bad. Go read that again.
But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street, and also the chapels they pulled down, and having cleansed the temple, they made another altar, and striking stones, they took fire out of them, and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and set forth incense and lights and showbread.
Go ahead.
When that was done, they fell flat down and besought the Lord that they might come no more into such troubles. But if they sin any more against him, that he himself would chasten them with mercy.
So they knew that if we sin again, it's going to happen again. Go ahead.
And that they might not be delivered unto the blasphemous and barbarous nations.
Go ahead.
Now, upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again.
You see that? The same day that they profaned it, it's the same day it was cleansed again. Go ahead.
Even the 5 and 20th day of the same month, which is Caslu. And they kept 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of Tabernacles.
So that's how it's the same way. So they said we're supposed to keep dedication the same way how we keep tabernacles, meaning the first day is a Sabbath, you feast for 7 days, and the 8th day is a Sabbath. So that's why we know how to keep it. The first day is a Sabbath, the 8th day is a Sabbath. Go ahead.
Remembering that not long before they had held the Feast of Tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts.
All right, that's it on that. So now let's get John chapter 10. So let's see if Christ kept the Feast of Dedication. Because we're supposed to do the things that Christ. And it's for the people that don't believe in the Apocrypha and don't. We got some congregations. They say all the feast days. They don't keep the feast days in the Apocrypha. They just keep the feast days in Leviticus 23. So that's some old slothful Negroes, man. What you mean you ain't gonna keep this? This was our custom. You ain't gonna keep our own customs. They don't do Purim. They don't do dedication. They don't do Day of Simon. Is that it? That's outside Leviticus 23. Destruction of Nicanor. They don't do that. Say it ain't in Leviticus 20. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. And then Christ kept it. Go to John chapter 10 and verse 22. People be mistaken if you can just cut corners and think you can get the kingdom. John chapter 10, verse 22. Let's see if Christ kept it.
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication.
It was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication. Go ahead.
And it was winter.
And we know the that Feast of Dedication is in winter. Go ahead.
And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
So he was there at the Feast of Dedication, keeping it. So what you mean? You wouldn't even know about the Feast of Dedication without the Apocrypha.
They would have read that and just been like, well, what is the dedication?
Yeah, what is the Feast?
Just like Feast of Dedication.
What the hell is that?
They wouldn't even know what they
don't even know what it is because you don't read the Apocrypha. So it's right there in the New Testament, Christ keeping it. So let's see if I got something else. So go to Leviticus 26. Let's see how Judah Maccabees was able to get the temple back. Leviticus 26. Let me look at it. Because they was outnumbered. Remember, they was outnumbered. Leviticus 26. Read verse 3.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 26,
Start at 2.
and verse 2. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord.
Go ahead.
If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase.
So this is the blessing for keeping the commandments. Go ahead.
And the trees of the field shall yield their fruits, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage and the sowing time.
Jump to verse 6.
Verse 6. And I will give peace in the land, and ye shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land.
Go ahead.
And ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword.
So you go chase your enemies and kill them. Go ahead.
And 5 of you shall chase 100.
So this is when they was outnumbered. He said 5 of you can kill 100. Go ahead.
And 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight.
And 100 of you can fight 10,000. That's why Judah Maccabees was able to overcome that big army, is because the Lord was with them. Go ahead.
And your enemies shall fall before you by the sword, for I will have respect unto you, and make you fruitful and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you.
And that's that, what do you say? God is not a respecter of person, but he said he had respect for Israel. He had respect for Israel. So that's talking about in something else. When they say God is not a respecter of person, that's talking about in judgment. Right. That's talking about in judgment. So now we see, so that's the Feast of Dedication. We celebrate our forefather, Judah Maccabees. He was a mighty man, him and his brothers, his father Mattathias. They was looking at the oppression of their people, and they couldn't take it. And so much they decided to put together a team of men that kept the commandments, that fought about it, that wanted to fight for the law, get their temple back, and they succeeded. They succeeded, got the temple back, dedicated the altar, and this is the Feast of Dedication, y'all. So we go close it out. Let's give Matthew 6. Y'all go back and read them chapters. First Maccabees, chapter 1 through 4, and get the full vision of what happened.
Book of Matthew, chapter 26, starting at verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this woman have done be told for a memorial of her.
So all praises for that memorial of Mary Magdalene. She prayed Christ and comforted him in his time of need. She was a great example of repentance, in so much Christ gave her her own memorial whenever we preach this gospel. So once again, I'd like to give all praises to the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel. Salute to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Salute to all the men and women that's fighting for the commandments of God, who's spreading this word, who's spreading this gospel throughout the four corners of the earth, that's spreading that gospel. With that, we say shalom.